things that people can do right now. You know, I tell people when I speak all the time, you don't have to hire me. Like I'm gonna start now. And you know, there are a lot of speakers that say 3/4 into their speech, all right, here are the top 5 things that you should take away. Like I'm giving that to you the moment I come on stage, right? The moment I walk out there. Let's get ready to write down. We don't need fluff. Let's just go. And to me, that's why I've been able to stay busy.
All right, guys, we got fellow podcaster Mick Hunt here. I think we always go back and forth in our category, number 1, number 2. So it's good to meet you, man.
It's a fun little rivalry, right?
Yeah, a little friendly competition.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's how I found you, man.
There it is.
Those Apple charts, you're always up there.
I love it. I love it. And you're doing an amazing thing too. So I'm glad that we're there together. We can be friends and still do what we do, right? Like you don't have to hate each other.
Nah.
That's the beauty of it, right?
That's why I like friendly competition, because it pushes you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what's the core of your show about? What message are you trying to push mainly?
So it's all about being fueled by your because. You know, like Simon Sinek many years ago did the start with why. And I feel like why is great, but it's also very superficial, right? Like I could probably guess your why, but I can't guess your because. And your because is your story. It's that thing that really fuels you to individual success, business success. And so we talk about your because, how to find it, but then also how to overcome the obstacles that we all are going to overcome, right? Success is never easy for anyone. And so, you know, me and my guests, we talk about tips and tricks that people can start implementing in their day to day.
I love that. Once I found my purpose, which took me 26 years, by the way, my life changed, dude. I wake up so fulfilled now. It's crazy.
Right. And to me, that's the key. You just said it, fulfillment, right? Like people talk about happiness. It's not happiness. It's fulfillment, right? And that's why I love what you just said.
Yeah, and it's hard. I see some people never find it. Like I've seen old people, you know, on their deathbed, like with a lot of regrets. So it's scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super tough. Like I found it through podcasting, actually.
Really?
When I started this show, it was just about how to make money at first. Like that was the main thing. Just have on really successful people, teach people how to make money. But that got boring real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 100 episodes in, I'm like, let's explore some other stuff, you know?
The fulfillment, right? Because now you recently moved into the self-improvement education category, which is what your podcast was anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't
right?
marketing. Yeah.
Right. And to me, that's the beauty of why we podcast, is why we help, right? Because it's not selfish. You could easily just have a solo podcast and talk about whatever you want. But what I love about Sean is that you are actually trying to help people, and the guests that you bring on are trying to help people. And that's,
I love it.
Kudos to that.
And it's topics that you would never really talk about because it was kind of looked down on when we were growing up.
Right.
Like whether it's money, religion, spirituality, health.
Right.
Like people are scared. We're scared to talk about these things back in the day.
Right. No, wholeheartedly. So kudos to you, dude.
Yeah, you
Kudos
too,
to
though,
you.
man. I think podcasting is such a good form of spreading positive messaging
Wholeheartedly.
because it's so authentic.
Wholeheartedly.
You can't be fake for podcasts for a long time.
Not at all. Because your listens will tell you.
Yeah.
Right. Your listens will tell you. You don't stay where you and I stay with having fluff.
Yeah.
Right.
You could put on a show for a few minutes, but podcast for an hour a week, 2 hours a week,
Right.
nah, you're not hiding.
Not at all.
You know what I mean?
Not
Those
at all.
skeletons are coming out of your closet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But before you got into podcasting, I know you had a successful business, an agency that was doing $3.2 million a year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I started my adult life in the insurance space, right? And so I was a sales manager for an insurance agency owner. And, you know, he had plans on being the biggest, baddest agent in the country. And so my first day, I was like, great, how are we going to do this? And he looked at me, he's an Italian guy. He looked at me and said, that's why fill in your favorite 4-letter word, I hired you, you better go figure it out. And so I did. And so for 7 years, we were the top rated nationwide insurance agency in the country.
Damn.
But what I realized, you know, he's going on trips to Paris, to Rome, to Banff, Canada, to Atlantis, and he's sending me on trips to Atlanta. And so Atlantis and Atlanta are not the same places, but it was cool. But what I realized was I was helping him live his dream, and then I had my own dream, right? And so I started my own insurance agency. No mergers, no acquisitions. In 3 years, we're doing 3.2 million, a little bit more than that actually.
Nice.
And ended up selling to a large broker.
Amazing.
Something I never envisioned, but you know, this was before, you know, 10, 12 times EBITDA was fashionable. You know, like I was getting those numbers and it was like, wow.
Holy
and
crap.
That literally, I'm not going to say it changed my life because my life was changing and evolving daily, right? Like that's what we do. But it validated all the things that I had been doing before that to get to that point. And then, you know, I took over a large brokerage, inherited about 50 million of revenue, in 4 years grew it to 70 million. and had a really good financial exit there and said, you know what, I want to show other people how to do this because I feel personally from a business standpoint, we make scaling and growing harder than it has to be, right? And you're the epitome of that, right? Because you've grown and scaled rapidly. And it's usually the simple things and saying focus on the main thing, right? Like Damon John will say, keep the main thing the main thing. And that's what it is. And so that became my passion to help others do that. And so,
Absolutely. Yeah, not falling for shiny object syndrome, right?
Absolutely.
That's something I've been avoiding the past year, and it's paid off.
Right.
Because I used to chase every new investment, every new opportunity, and it's tempting to do that because of social media, man.
Yeah.
But once I stopped doing that, which is ironic, I've made more money.
Oh, for sure. Because we call it the digital era. I call it the distraction era. There's more distractions out there more than ever, and all distractions aren't good. So you just have to stay focused on who you are, what you do, and what the values that you bring.
Yeah. I love that you had some experience before the company because it's kind of looked down on to get a job now.
Right.
Like there's that whole movement of like kind of on 9-to-5ers or whatever. But I think it's important to learn from someone before you start your own company.
Oh, for sure. And, I told you this, and you know that Les Brown is one of my mentors and one of my personal coaches. And, Les taught me, there's this old saying, experience is the best teacher. It's not experience, it's wisdom, right? Like experience is going to cost you money. Experience is going to cost you trials and errors, right? Wisdom gives you the shortcut. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with experience, but it's not the best teacher. Right? Like if I play sports and I have experience missing free throws over and over again, what did I gain? Right? I learned how to not make free throws. Right? But when you have someone that can teach you the proper form and the technique and can shortcut it, that's wisdom. And so to me, wisdom is the best teacher that you could ever have.
Powerful, yeah, because you're paying for all the time they spent learning it.
Exactly.
Yeah. How did you get in touch with Les? Because that's one of the GOATs right there.
Les is the GOAT for sure. It happened like we were speaking at the same event and we exchanged numbers, and it's one of those things where like, yeah, okay, like he'll call me. I'm not going to message Les Brown. Right? I'll call Les Brown. But he actually reached out, and then he invited me to one of his masterminds, and like literally ever since then, for the past 2 years, Les and I talk 4 times a day.
Damn.
We start our days off talking to each other. When one of us goes to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, we call each other or message each other. But I mean, the best investment that I ever made was in myself and taking the time to learn from Les Brown. I mean, the things that he's taught me that I'm able to then impart into my podcast, into my speaking, into my coaching businesses. Like it's crazy cool.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
So you're speaking a lot right now?
I am. Definitely speaking. I would say I'm usually at 2 engagements a month in person and probably 2 to 3 virtual sessions a week as well too.
Speaking is great because you get to impact a lot of people. You get to experience cultures because you get to travel the world.
Right.
Meet some great people. The energy is great. I love that business model too.
Yeah, and it's great. And it's just like you said too, right? Like you have to have a message or messages that are relatable to people to stay booked. Right? Because you can go speak one time and then never get hired again or never get asked to be brought again.
Yeah.
So everything that I do, man, it's about things that people can do right now. I tell people when I speak all the time, you don't have to hire me. Like I'm gonna start now. And there are a lot of speakers that say 3/4 into their speech, all right, here are the top 5 things that you should take away. Like I'm giving that to you the moment I come on stage, right? The moment I walk out there, let's get ready to write down. We don't need fluff. Let's just go. And to me, that's why I've been able to stay busy.
I love the speakers where you could take immediate action. Right. Like Hormozy, stuff where you could just implement right away.
Right away.
Yeah. That's like his book, dude, holy that changed my life.
Right.
100 Million Offers.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That might be the best business book I've ever read.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that I read and I was like, oh, even though, good businesses, I feel like I have a good model of what I do, but I learned like 4 things immediately that I tweaked, and it's allowed my business to scale as well too.
Just making your offer as good as possible.
Right.
Like I've only gotten 2 refunds since that book.
Wow.
Because I made my offer so damn good that like, why would you want a refund?
Exactly.
And that's the way it should be. Just give as much value as you can.
Absolutely.
Because people, on the other hand, will take that victim mentality, and if they're getting a lot of refunds, they'll never put the blame on themselves.
Never.
They'll blame it on the customers.
Always.
But if you're getting a lot, I mean, you're probably doing something wrong.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
You working on any books or anything?
Absolutely. I'm in the lab right now, so this will be a Sean Kelly exclusive because It's like literally just came up with the title 2 weeks ago. And so the title of the book is going to be How to Be a Good Leader When You've Never Seen One. Because I feel like this generation, right? So we'll take my age bracket. So I'm 45, almost 46. So we'll say 50 and under, right? Who's the leader that we have? Or the leaders? Like if I said, Sean, name me your top 3 leaders.
For under 50?
Yeah.
For me, it was Gary Vee.
Yep.
I'd say Elon Musk. Who would be third? Because Tony Robbins is kind of the older crowd, right?
Yep. And here's where I'm going to challenge you. And this is why I'm writing the book. Because I'm saying you're naming probably more influencers.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like they are great influencers. They are great people to follow. But do we know if they're great leaders? And I'm not saying that they're not. Right. But usually when I ask people, they're telling me the popular social media folks that they follow. And they're great follows, right? I follow a lot of great people as well. I follow you. Yep. I'm not saying you're not a bad man, but I follow you too. But what I'm saying is like when I grew up, right? Like you could look at a Brian Tracy, a John Maxwell, even a Tony Robbins to a certain extent. But those are still the same leaders that we have. And so like my kids don't relate with that style.
I see what you're saying.
Right. And so we're about to have 2.7 million people retire in the next 3 years.
Wow.
400,000 of those are going to be C-suite leaders. Who's going to replace them? And who's their leadership example? And so I'm writing a book that's going to give some principles, some pillars of, hey, if you've never seen a good leader, here are the things that you need to work on to do to be a good leader. Because the world continues to evolve, right? Like how I was led is probably different than how you like to be led, right? Because it's generational difference and there's nothing wrong either way. But that's what my book is going to be about, is how to lead the modern employee. What are the principles that you need to have as a leader? Because for me growing up, there was no such thing as remote work, right? There was no such thing as hybrid work. Well, now that's a thing. And you have to lead a little bit differently, right? Like the 25-year-old that's looking to be promoted in 3 months, right? How do you lead that person? You know, you made a point earlier, right? People kind of shun 9 to 5 and think you should just start as a business owner. Well, those people are going to come into your work at some point, even though they want to exit and start their own thing. They still need that experience. How do you lead them? Right. And so that's what the book is going to be about.
I love that because, yeah, there's some crazy stats now where like people are getting jobs on average for like a year now.
Right.
Before, when your generation and even my parents, it's like 20 years.
Right.
Like you worked at the same company for a long time.
And sometimes in the same position. What's crazy is I know people in the insurance space that came in as customer service reps, right? 25 years later, they're still customer service reps.
Wow.
Right? You're not going to do that.
No.
Right? You're not. My kids aren't going to do that. Right?
Yeah, you got to start and then evolve.
Right.
I couldn't do the same thing for 25 years. No, you need to grow.
Right.
When it comes to leadership, because you probably manage hundreds of employees, right? What were some big lessons there you learned along the way?
Listen. The big thing is listen, because you can have a style or an approach, but if you're not listening to your team, you don't know the culture that you have. And so one of the things that I tell leaders today, and I don't care what size your company is take time to meet with your people and listen, right? Like we have this big thing now, like more meetings is a bad thing. Unless you're the CEO of the company, right? If you're the CEO of the company, you need to be meeting with your people and listening to them because that's your culture.
Wow.
So I would say the first tip is that. The second tip, I would say, is master something as a leader, right? Like a lot of times we want to be really good at a lot of things, maybe even great at a lot of things. But, and I know you've heard me say this, right? But Bruce Lee says, I fear not the man who practices over 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times, right? And so for me as a leader, have your one kick. Like, what's your one kick going to be, and master that.
So like one specialty.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because the employees have to respect you.
Exactly.
Right? That's important.
Right.
Because if they don't respect you, they don't care what you say.
At all. At all.
So there's that balance of, because the typical, boss wants to be feared, but I feel like that's shifting too, right?
No, that's not the thing, man. Like that's where listening plays into everything that you can do. Like if you're a leader, if you're watching, if you're listening, the best thing you can do is listen. Like have conversations with your team members, not just your senior leadership, but the person that opens the door. Have conversations with them because, again, I'm going to say this again, That's your culture. I hate when I hear people talk about their culture or brag about their culture. If you have to talk about it, you don't have your culture.
Yeah.
Right? If you have to talk about it, you don't have it.
How do you deal with jealousy within the workplace? Because a lot of people, whether it's salaries or job titles, they seem to care about those things, right?
So my third tip would be transparent. Have expectations, roles, responsibilities, and career paths, and be very transparent about how you get to the next step, what you're looking for, what do you expect out of your people, and then live up to that. So if I tell Sean, hey, for the next 3 months, I need you to make 50 sales and do this and that, or retain 100 customers. And if you do that, you're going to be eligible for this promotion. Do that, right? Like if I tell Sean that, then it's up to me to then live through with that. Because if I set Sean up with a goal or a standard and he's doing it, well, then now Sean's going to be looking for a new job because I didn't live up to my end of the deal.
Right.
So be very transparent with expectations, with career pathing, and then more importantly, you as a leader follow up to that.
Yeah, I think setting goals for each employee is important, right? Some sort of purpose to look forward to, or otherwise they're just going to waste their time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people are just built like that.
Absolutely.
How can I work the least for this money? Because if there's no incentive to make more money, then why work harder?
Right. And why should you be upset if that's their mentality?
Yeah.
Right? You fostered that.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to your culture.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah, but people won't put that together.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny, man. Right. Are you building a team right now, or are you kind of doing stuff on your own?
Yeah, so I have 2 different consulting companies. So one is in the insurance space because that's where I came from. And so, we've got like 13 employees on that side. And then under my Mick Unplugged brand, I have a team of 9 that do different things. So I've got my CEO, my chief engagement officer, runs my day-to-day. I've known her for 25 years. I think we worked together. We started in the insurance space together. So I've got a team on the Mick Unplugged side that's handling like my speaking engagements, executive coaching, and things like that. And then we've got a consulting firm on the insurance arm that helps businesses with strategies and growth.
Nice. Did you get a formal education?
University of North Carolina.
Wow.
I am a Tar Heel.
Let's go. Representing the colors, too.
Absolutely, yeah. So University of North Carolina, one of the things that I would say changed my life, I've always been driven and determined, even as a kid, but it was the connections and mentors is what college really got for me. So education, yeah, I did learn some things, but it was really about the relationships that I established and the mentors that I was actually able to gain from there that I remember the most.
And you can leverage the alumni status too.
Exactly.
There's probably some huge UNC business moguls.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Michael Jordan.
Obviously,
right?
yeah.
UNC guy. Nah.
Message him on LinkedIn.
Right. No, but yeah, I mean, a ton of businesses. UNC has one of the top business schools. I actually have an MBA from there too.
Nice.
So they have one of the top business schools in the country as well too. So a ton of relationships there.
Yeah, I see it almost like you should see it as like a networking mastermind these days.
That's it. That's it. I mean, networking is the key to success, right? Like I will say, the old adage, your network is your net worth. But I would take it a step further, right? Like your circle is a representation of you or the person you're striving to be, right? And so I always go into my circle and I evaluate my circle, so my close group, 2 to 3 times a year, because I have to make sure I'm benefiting my circle, but then also my circle is benefiting me. And by benefiting, I don't mean financially or anything like that, but am I learning? Am I getting better as a human?
Yeah.
Right. And so your networking skills needs to start with your circle. Like, who are the people that are going to push you and drive you?
Yeah.
Right. I had an interview with one of my good friends and one of my accountability partners, Carl Lester Crumpler, and we talked about iron sharpening iron. Well, when people hear that, I think what they think is iron polishes iron, right? Like, I'm going to pump Sean up and we're going to do some amazing things and you can do it. But to sharpen something, there's friction, there's sparks, there's fire. So like, I need to challenge Sean and Sean needs to challenge me to get better. That's that friction that we have to have. And so, networking should always start with just that. Like, who are the people that are really going to push you? And then from there, what other circles are they in? Because they're probably in the same type of mindset and mentality as you.
Absolutely. And that's why I care about where I live too, the community.
Right.
Because you want to be, like, I just moved and I wanted to be not at the top of my neighborhood. I wanted to be one of the poorest houses.
Right.
Because that would motivate me.
Exactly.
And with the friend group stuff, that's been tough for me because I've had to cut out friends because they're not evolving with me, and they see it like I screwed them over. But like, it's not like that.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because I've had to do that exact same thing, and I do it. I go through this exercise twice a year where I look at my circle, and again, am I benefiting? Am I receiving benefit? Right? And it's okay to move people from your inner circle to an outer circle. It doesn't mean they're no less than a friend, but if we're not moving in the same direction, or you're not moving me to a direction, I can't, with the person that I'm trying to be, I can't spend time, energy, and effort with you as much as I have been. So there's nothing wrong with that, bro.
No, I agree. But then you get people saying you're disloyal, which I feel like I am loyal by doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm being honest with you.
Right. And then it's like, hey, well, then let's go on this path. Right? Like, this is where I'm going. You're showing that you're not trying to go there.
Yeah.
If you think I'm disloyal, let's go. Let me show you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, some people are just content with their lifestyle, right? I'm not like that no matter what level I get to. Like, I always want the next thing to impact more people. So
absolutely. That's
the mindset I have, which is a very rare mindset. So that's why I've had to cut ties with a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people think that way.
I get it. But again, that's what makes, I don't want to say the elite, but it's kind of true, right? Like, people that are aspiring to be an elite one of one, that's what happens sometimes.
Absolutely. Who's been your favorite interviews? I know you've done a ton, right?
I have, man. Like, you're putting me on the spot.
I get asked this all the time, and I never know how to answer it because there's so many new ones.
No, I mean, I love all of my interviewees, man. Like, so, I didn't want to start a podcast, but Les Brown and Kenny Anderson kind of made me start it. Right? They were like, hey, if you do it, I'll be a guest. And so I'm always going to go back to those two because they're the ones that kind of sparked me to do it. So
Kenny from TNT?
Kenny Anderson.
Okay, Kenny Anderson.
Point guard, Georgia Tech.
The guy from the show with Shaq and Charles Barkley?
Nope, that's Kenny Smith.
He's
He's a Tar Heel. So Kenny Anderson, point guard, Georgia Tech. He played for the Nets.
Okay.
He played for the
I probably know him,
Celtics
man.
and
I
Trailblazers.
grew up in Jersey. I used to go to the Vince Carter, Jason Kidd games. Was he on that team?
No. So Kenny graduated college in 91. So he was the number 2 overall pick.
Got it.
In 91, 92. But he was my favorite college point guard of all time.
Wow.
And I'm a UNC guy. That's saying a lot. But Kenny Anderson was my guy. Like, I call him my GOAT. Like, he was my college basketball GOAT.
Damn.
Right?
UNC's got some legendary point guards, though.
We do.
That's a statement.
But Kenny Anderson is my guy. And I know he'll be watching this. So, Kenny, I got you. But,
wow. You got him over MJ?
College, he is my GOAT.
Damn.
He is my GOAT. He literally is my GOAT. Like, you should go watch some Kenny Anderson highlights.
I will. I'll watch his
like,
next
there's, because I'm a UNC guy, I hate Duke, right? I hate Duke. But there's a moment where he was breaking down Bobby Hurley like nobody's business.
Holy crap.
Yeah, Kenny Anderson is that guy, man.
You think USA will win this Olympics? I just saw their game against Canada last night.
Yeah, I think we will. It's going to take some time for them to gel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's one of the disadvantages that we have that most people don't think about, right? Like, national teams kind of play together a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Right? Like, we have a new team every season, and it takes time to gel. Even though you have some elder statements, it takes time to gel. But I think they'll be okay.
They were looking first quarter against Canada. They were down 10.
Turnover machines.
Yeah. Because they're used to being the best player on their team, so they're not used to
right.
That kind of touches.
Like, nobody's backdoor cutting and all that, right? It's just like, all right, I got the ball, I'm gonna shoot.
Yeah, a lot of ISO.
Right.
Yeah, that's
but
the
then
problem.
They figured it out. The second unit came in really, really strong.
I thought so too. Canada was looking nice though. They might go pretty far, I think.
Yeah, they need depth. Their starting 5 is strong.
Yeah, starting 5 is great, but I can't name anyone on their bench. Maybe Kelly Olynyk, who's decent, but that's about it.
Yeah. He had a good second quarter.
Yeah.
And then
you a big you still watch hoops or?
Yeah,
I love hoops.
Basketball's my first love.
You still play?
Nah, so true story. I tore my calf muscle a couple of weeks ago. So I'm limited on hoops. I'm the guy that's going to stand in the corner and shoot threes.
Yeah.
Right?
Once you get in your 40s, if you don't develop a jumper, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, your hips don't move like they used to. Your vertical went from, my vertical was 24, now it's like 10.
Damn. 24 is not bad, man. So you were dunking.
I could grab the rim.
Okay.
I could grab the rim. I'm not tall, so
yeah.
I could grab the
24. Yeah, that's not bad.
No, I mean it's not great. It's
not great,
It's not
but
NBA worthy.
yeah.
But what I really was saying was now it's 10.
I feel that, man.
Yeah, well,
what are you working on next, and where can people find you?
Man, working next, I'm building a community. So soon to be announced, the Mick Unplugged community, where I'm going to have different levels of membership, but we're going to do things. We're going to offer some self-paced courses on leadership, on self-improvement. We're going to have some invites. So like some of my guests. So like actually Les Brown and I are probably going to do a 30-minute segment every month.
Nice.
Right. Like
That's
he
cool.
and I are just going to come in and talk shop, do some Q&A. I've got some other really great dudes that are in my circle, like Robert Irvine, Ken Coleman. So some of those guys will come in. Merrill Hodge will come in and just hold shop. So I really want to build a thriving community that's helping people.
Love it.
Right. So that's what's next. But following me, Mick Unplugged everywhere, Mick Hunt on LinkedIn. But that's me.
Cool. We'll link it below. Thanks for coming on, man.
I appreciate you,
It
brother.
was great meeting you.
Yes.
Learned a lot, and hopefully you guys did too. Stay tuned for the next episode.